there, my name is Madeline Wagner and I'm here to teach you how to do this awesome mountain range on these 3D landscape projects. I'm going to teach you how to accurately show form and use a range of values in these. The supplies you are going to need at least a regular Ticonderoga pencil, like a HB2, and then if you want to go above and beyond, you can grab a variety of pencils. So the softer the lead, the easier that you're going to be able to create some deeper values in your mountain ranges. Then you're going to need an eraser, a paper towel, and this worksheet. So you can find this worksheet on my Teacher Pay Teacher linked in my bio. But this is a universal support, so it's really nice to have next to you. It has all the steps laid out to keep you organized as you work on these. So let's get into it. Alrighty, now that we have all our pencils, our eraser, and our paper towel, we are all set to begin. If yours is not cut out yet, please go on my channel and see the tutorial for how to cut these. But our end goal today is that we have a nice mountain range with all of the value scale represented. If you don't have this yet, head over to my Teacher Pay Teacher and download this for yourself. It's a great universal support and it helps us to refer back to all of the steps for how to create this. So when I grade these for students, I'm looking to see all of the value range represented. So the lightest values all the way to the darkest values. I'm also especially looking to see that there are no really harsh lines and that they're more like shadows. So we're gonna head over here and start with our first step. The first step is to create a new line for the mountain peaks. So we want this to look more organic. When you have super straight lines, it does not look like real mountains in real life. So we want to avoid something like this with the super straight lines, and we need something more organic. To do this, I like to take my pencil and hold it kind of in this weird way at the end. And I'm just carefully creating these kind of random lines. And these are going to look more like a real mountain range because in nature, we don't see such straight, rigid mountain peaks. And it's very rare that we would have just one singular mountain in the middle of a space. So we want to make these foothills and these layers of mountains that work together and go to the bottom of the page. So I'm going to work on that second layer. There's no real right or wrong way to do this as long as you have released the urge to make them perfect, because in nature, things are not perfect. Now right here, I need this to connect. So I need all of these mountain spaces to be defined for myself. So I need to make sure that all my lines connect to other lines. I'm also thinking right now about space. So I'm thinking about, well, this mountain is behind this one because I'm overlapping it in front, but then this mountain is in front of this one over here. And I think I want just like one kind of smaller hill down here. So we'll try that. Wonderful. Alrighty, that the third step is to make lines to show the form of the mountains. So we need to envision that each of these mountain peaks are actually like a little pyramid of their own. So we want to create a line. Now I have already decided where our light source is going to be. So for this purpose, we are all going to pretend that the sun is somewhere over here. But as you advance as an artist, you will decide and understand where your light source is on your own. So I've just decided that we are going to create this line of form kind of slanting to the left. So I'm going to start at the peak of each of my mountains and I'm creating an organic line to show that line of form. So here you can see the pyramid. In order for this pyramid to look 3D, we need to see two sides of it. So same with our mountains. Now, a common mistake that I see is that students make this line much too skinny. So we don't want it to look like this. We need a nice form. So again, I'm holding my pencil in that weird way to get a nice organic line, and I'm just going on each of these mountain peaks and dragging my pencil down to create that line of form. There we go. Now it is time to start adding our values. Now, as I said, I've already decided where our light source is. So the first part that we are going to do is that we are going to add our dark values on the sides of the mountains opposite of the light source. So our light source is somewhere over here. So we're going to use the side of our pencil to create a medium dark value in these spaces. Those lines that we made as our new mountain peaks, we will cut those out at the end. So don't worry about those right now. Now, I already talked about this, but we need to release the urge to be perfect with these because often in nature, things are not perfect. So I'm just carefully going to shade each side. And I'm going to skip ahead for this part. Now that all of the edges of your mountains are nice and colored with that medium dark value, I want you to notice that it is imperfect and that is totally okay. Now what you do want to avoid is using the sharp end of your pencil. So this whole time I had my pencil at an angle towards the paper like this. You do not want to be doing this because you're going to end up with marks that you can't really blend and it's going to look like a pattern and it's not going to look realistic. Now the next part is we are going to add some light values to the broad sides of the mountains opposite of our dark values. So these spots here, I just want you to carefully create kind of a light medium value in here. Now we are going to go back and refine this once we're done. And so you don't have to worry about being perfect with this part either. We just want a nice wash of value across our mountains because our mountains are not white, right? Again, I'm still using the side of my pencil so that I can get a nice light value without specific like pencil marks or kind of scratchiness. Now right here, mine is kind of folded under itself and that line is going to be really hard for me to blend together. So I'm going to open my mountain range all the way up. It's kind of clunky. We'll make it work. So that I don't have this anymore or that I don't continue to reinforce this. There we go. Now here comes the fun part. Oops, I forgot one step. Look at me. So the last thing that we need to add before we blend this with the paper towel is this shadow that these mountains cast on the mountain behind them. So using the edge of our pencil again, I am just going to carefully outline the edges of these mountains. Now this is all looking pretty chaotic right now, but it will come to life after we continue to refine these guys. So now that I've done that, it is time for me to blend with my paper towel. I like to take my paper towel and wrap it around my finger. Now that my paper towel is wrapped around my finger, I'm going to use some circular motions to just blend this all in. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen mountains in person, but even thinking about a photo, the last word that I would use to describe mountains is smooth. Whoa, I'm throwing my pencils on the floor. And so, although we are smoothing it right now, we do not want this as our end result at all. You also might notice that I must have touched my paper here with my finger, and the oils on my finger stayed on the paper and now are attracting the ink. So artists who use this as their main medium, they're very careful about things like that. So you might want to consider that too. Now from here, you can either continue using your Ticonderoga or you can grab a fancier soft leaded pencil. I know in my classroom I have ebony pencils and those work really, really nicely. So our next step is to blend any dark lines with a medium to light value range. So any harsh lines that you might see on your paper, mine are okay right now, but I'm talking about like these outlines, you need to blend those in. And so we're gonna think about blending it as creating this value along every single line. So you would start with, firm pressure and then slowly drag it out. And that's how you are going to incorporate some of your really tough and contrasting outlines if you have those. Now we just need to pop all of this back out. So I'm gonna start with one of my form spaces. And I'm going to begin adding a deeper value to bring that forward again. So I kind of start by outlining, but then I am going to switch to using the side of my pencil. And I might not really blend this again because I think that I want some of this kind of texture in there. So I'm just going to go around and carefully do this with all of my mountain spaces. So again, I am not trying to create any like pencil lines. I am making sure that I'm keeping it kind of organic looking, textured. And I'm just going to bring these spaces out by adding a deeper value. Now, I always am talking to my students about how this is like one of the hardest things that artists learn to do, is learning how light interacts with the world around us. And so this is just a really challenging thing. So this is very introductory, and there are many ways and many lessons that teachers teach value in a middle school space or, other spaces. And so this is just how I'm teaching it. So if you have any other ways, you could leave those in the comments. I would love to hear, but it's just a hard thing. So I'm going to continue refining this, and then I'll turn the video back on. Now that I have started bringing these deeper values forward by using my softer pencil, I am just continuing to refine. So I'm finding these edges of these mountains that are casting a shadow on the mountains behind them. This kind of helps show us some depth. If you want to expand upon this, you can also show more space in your artwork by making the mountains in the background either a little bit lighter or a little bit darker. That is sometimes how artists show space in their work as well. So space is when you're looking at an artwork and you can tell that there are things closer to you and things further away. From here, I sometimes encourage some students to just blend a little bit here and there. Now, we do want to reserve some of that texture, but sometimes it's good to just do a little bit of a blend so that it doesn't look like scribbly pencil marks, or it doesn't look patterned, so there are no like pencil marks that are too repeating or repetitive. From here, we are now going to add our textures and value, and lightest value. So we don't have any of the paper showing through anymore. In order to add some texture, we're just going to create some more kind of mountain peaks. Now, we are using the side of our pencil again because we don't want anything that looks too harsh or like a line. So do not make your textures like this. Do not do that. It looks like this when you're done, not so good. You're using the side of your pencil, and you're kind of thinking about the shape of some of the mountain peaks that you already have, and you're just adding those. Now, we also actually want kind of a value scale to blend these guys too, so we shouldn't see any harsh lines either. So if you do something that looks like this, to fix that, you are going to blend that in. So I'm going to add some medium values to incorporate that and kind of make it look more like a shadow that it's casting rather than a defined point. We're going to avoid making any of these mountains look exactly alike because in nature we also don't see things like that, so that's going to be a dead giveaway. I might switch between my softer pencil and my more firm lead. This one, you get a little bit of a darker value at first right away. Now again, this is not perfect, and that is okay. Again, value is so challenging to learn to do, and this is just the intro. This is just the introduction. So I would like you to try experimenting with this, watching other YouTubers. I do not claim to be an expert specifically on value shading and colored pencil. In fact, I talk to my students about how this is an area that I am always trying to grow because my strength is really in sculpture. So I really have to practice at drawing and painting. It doesn't come nearly as naturally to me as sculpture does. Although adding value does have a ton of overlap with sculpture because you're working and you're trying to show form in the artwork. So now that I have some good textures, I am now ready to start popping my lightest highlights out. So the lightest of our value range when we use white paper is just the paper. So I'm thinking about that sun, which is somewhere over here, and how it is going to affect these mountains. So I would never put a highlight on the left side here. That would be kind of silly. So I am just gonna pop some highlights on these right sides, and I'm also gonna pop some on these textures that I just started adding. And you will really begin seeing this come to life. It's exciting. Again, you are putting your values kind of in random places because in nature, things are not often super patterned. And we want to show that texture. And dun da da da, here we go. Now, could you continue refining this and refining this and refining this? Yes, and even just as I'm looking at it, you know, I'm gonna keep putzing with this, but this is a really great foundation. I don't see any majorly harsh lines, which is something that I look for. This right here looks kind of harsh, so I might continue to refine that, as I was saying. But overall, I noticed that all of the values are represented. So I've got my darkest values in some of these areas, and then I also have my highlights, my lightest values popped in the correct place. So I don't have any on the left side. So as long as you're looking for these, again, this is a great introductory lesson on value, and I find that my students are incredibly successful with it. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope your 3D landscapes are turning out amazing and you have those mountainscapes done. If you do complete this project, please share a photo with me. I would love to see them. If you have any tips for me on how you teach value, please leave that in the comments. And if this video is helpful to you, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, before you go anywhere today, don't forget to check your face and make sure you didn't accidentally wipe graphite on it. I send lots of students to the bathroom after this project because they have graphite all over their face. If this universal support is helpful to you, you can find that on my Teacher Pay Teacher. It's really awesome for students to follow along as they are working. So once again, thanks for making awesome art with me, and I hope you have an awesome day.